buy pencils.
Yeah. Or that all these kids are having a computer now. And I'm not saying kids all shouldn't have a computer from school, because they should. Clearly in this climate where they might have to go, virtual at any time. I'm about to sneeze. But they can do that. But we have to get shitty when kids don't pay for their lunch.
Yeah,
that burns my ass.
That burns my ass up real bad, too, because I pay a lot of goddamn taxes. And you know what? Let me tell you. First, I'll tell you what I'm not okay with it going to. I'm not okay with it going to Cabot building a brand new fucking football stadium when there wasn't shit wrong with the old one. I have a problem with that. But
by all means, feed the kids. What I
don't have a problem with, free lunches. It doesn't matter how much the parents make. Because you know what? I don't have a kid in school. Still got to pay the tax.
Well, and the kids,
so it's going to even out.
The kids have to be there.
Yeah.
So the staff has to be there. So just give them lunch.
Yeah, and
make that part of your operating costs.
Yeah, and the like I said, we don't have a kid in school, and there are plenty of kids whose parents don't make a lot of money, so they don't pay a lot of taxes. It's going to even out. And I'm totally fine with my tax dollars going to that.
Yeah, I'll pay
just like I'm totally fine with my tax dollars going to fucking teacher pay raises.
Absolutely.
Would you expect that sanitation worker to work his shift and then spend his 2 months prior getting ready for it? No, the fuck you wouldn't.
Or you wouldn't expect him to work his shift and then go home at night and input all the accounting and all the back end work.
That's all bullshit.
That they have to do all the grading. No, they get people go, well, they
get what? What do they get?
They get fucked is what they get.
Yeah.
Because they're paid, yes, they're paid through the summer when they're not working, but it's not like they're just paid to get that much off. It's divided up so their salary comes out evenly and they don't miss pay.
And all those teachers have to take turns teaching summer school and stuff like that. So
yeah, and then like Chris said, they go back. The kids get like 2 months off, but the teachers really only get
like
about
6 weeks,
if that. Because if they have to teach anything, if they have to do any accreditation, then they have to decorate their classes, then they have to do workshops. It's just and like we say that our children, everything's for the children, and it should be. But put your money literally where your mouth is. If the kids are the priority, make them the priority. If you want your kids to have a good education, then you need the best people teaching them.
Unfortunately, the only kids in priority are the ones on the football teams.
Yeah.
Yep. Or basketball.
Lesser, because my best friend Vance played basketball all from to when he graduated, and they were definitely second-class citizens. I mean, they got some support, but nothing like the football.
Yeah.
You could even see a
football
difference.
Players are like gods in some shit.
Yeah, you could see a difference because there were different cheerleaders for football and basketball, and it was even
and the ugly ones were for the basketball team.
No, but they had the football had the better uniforms. They would get newer uniforms more often. They just got more attention. Everything.
So that seems weird to me because we only had one set of cheerleaders.
No, we had football cheerleaders, basketball cheerleaders, and then the what were they?
The pep squad.
That's not what they called them.
The drill team.
Yeah, drill team.
Yeah.
My senior year, I don't know because I didn't really pay attention. I went to a couple of football games, but in my little country school I went to, we only had basketball.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, a lot of littler schools they do have to choose.
And it definitely wasn't like the football players. It wasn't all that hype.
Yeah. I mean, even the pep rallies are different. It's just not as big a deal.
Yeah. Our basketball pep rallies were different.
Yeah, you don't get homecoming for basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a religion.
Football became such a big fucking deal
because it's macho.
Because it's macho, and then dads get to relive their glory days vicariously through their sons, which that starts a whole string of psychological problems that...
Have you seen that too? I think that this is gonna fuck with me long-term mentally.
No, I haven't seen that.
So now when that's what I hear in my head. I'm thinking this is gonna fuck with me.
So do we have anything else?
I have a question about the Georgia voting laws that were changed. What is the big fucking deal that everybody's up and leaving Georgia?
I don't know.
All I know
I've heard
is
about
that
it, but it doesn't
food and water can't be served to people in line.
Yeah, I mean, like.
Well, all right. So here's what.
And apparently that's racist against black people.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So Georgia signed a bill that requires voter ID, which is any.
You have to have ID.
You have to have ID to vote anyway.
It's any state issued photo ID.
Or drive a car, or drink, or do fucking anything.
Or get a loan, or get a lease, or get public assistance, or get a goddamn library card. You got to have it for literally everything.
Like, that's why I don't understand why people, like, literally anything you do requires that.
And then, the Georgia, they also had, in this thing, 24 drop boxes for mail-in ballots throughout the state.
They've said they've lowered the vote boxes, but they haven't.
Well, here's the thing.
What do you mean lowered?
So it
the
was
amount of them.
Where they are.
It was 94. Here's the problem with that. That was an emergency situation
Because of COVID.
Yeah, because of COVID. Originally, Georgia had 14. They've actually upped it to 24 or 28 or whatever it is. And then there's...
But they're saying, they took it from 90-something down to 20-something.
Yeah, so that's actually misleading
true, but
at best.
It's because of pandemic.
Well, it's true, but it's misleading.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all it was.
And then the food and water thing, which people are just having a fit about.
Okay. I've opened up an article that, like, explains, like, issue by issue, like what people are talking about. Mm-hmm. Okay, it says, issue. Voters will now have less time to request absentee ballots.
If you know when the shit's happening, so...
Okay, I'm trying to see what people are actually saying versus not earlier than 78 days or not less than 11 days. So they cut it down from 180 days to between 78 and 11.
You don't need a ballot 6 months out.
But was that pandemic?
No, I think that was just the way it was.
Okay, but 78 days, that's fucking 2.5 months.
Yeah,
that's plenty of time.
Yeah, I mean, why would you need it 6 months ahead of time?
Yeah, and the 11 days, you're probably not going to have time to get your request there and then and then you get it back to them. So that's totally reasonable.
So, I don't see... Nearly 6 months to less than 3. Okay, I don't... They're saying that will reduce the number of people who seek absentee ballots.
I bet it won't.
I don't... I don't understand that. There are strict new ID requirements for absentee ballots. I've never voted in person that I didn't have to provide my ID.
Yep.
Never. And I've voted in every election.
They holler about the gun laws, and we need more background check. You can't go buy a gun without submitting to a background check.
Yep. And you can't
now
dial it back, Marshall.
If everything is okay and you're good, you may walk out with it the same day, or you may not.
Yeah, I've never had to wait, but I've also got top secret clearance.
Here's what it said. In order to confirm the identity of the voter, such form shall require the elector to provide his or her name, date of birth, address as registered, addressed where these are for absentee ballots, where the ballot should be mailed, and the driver's license number. If you don't have a driver's license,
you have a state ID number.
Yeah. And they said not only that, but you can also get a form from the Secretary of State's office to fill out to prove to send in.
So
well, how dare they?
Yeah, that none of that is a problem because, like we just said, you have to have a state issued ID to do fucking anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It says, previously, Georgia law required voters to simply sign their absentee ballot application.
And that's bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, I can't do that if I'm voting in person.
That's screaming for fraud.
Yeah.
I've literally never, I don't care if it was for local elections, presidential.
Yep.
I've always had to produce my ID. I've always had to go to the polling place where I'm registered.
Yep.
You can't just,
I can't go to Austin. I have to go
to the have to go. You can't say, well, this one probably has short lines. I'll go here. You have to go where you're registered to vote. Okay, I didn't know they did this. apparently, they said it's now illegal for election officials to mail out absentee ballot applications to all voters.
Yeah, you should.
That's just wasteful.
And it screams fraud. Remember the ballot harvesting shit?
When the and this may have been just because of the pandemic. Hold on. When the coronavirus pandemic hit last year, Georgia's Secretary of State, a Republican, mailed absentee ballot applications to every registered voter in the state ahead of the primary election.
That should have never been done. If you need one, you request one.
First of all, it's wasteful as fuck.
Well, secondly, it's sending out unsolicited fucking ballots. That's fraud.
Yeah. See, then they're talking about the drop boxes. A board of registrars or absentee ballot clerks may establish additional drop boxes, but may only establish additional boxes totaling the lesser of either one drop box for every 100,000 active registered voters in the county, or the number of advanced voting locations in the county. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
because everybody's got an early voting location.
Yeah, and not everybody's going to be using the drop box. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of people aren't going to
mail them in.
Well, or they're going to vote in person.
Yeah.
I prefer to vote in person.
Yeah. I mean, okay, and everybody, okay, I've never used it, but I know where the early voting location is for Cabot.
Ours is the same, actually.
Yours is where you vote early?
Uh-huh.
See, ours, you just must be...
At the library, yeah.
Yeah, see, we have to vote in ward, but if I vote early, we come, And,
we always vote early. We try to vote early if we can.
Says they're also having a problem because there will be fewer drop boxes, but they won't all be 24-hour access outdoors. They have to be placed indoors at government buildings and will be unavailable to drop off ballots during evenings and other non-business hours.
I don't see why they can't get someplace that has a little thing in the door where you can just...
Yeah.
Well, all right,
like you need to return back in the day. You need to return your movie and your clothes,
or put it in the slot.
If you're early voting, you have plenty of time.
Yeah.
It actually would be easier than going and voting in person because you have one fucking window to do that in.
Well, but here's the thing, though.
Like when you go to pay your water bill, if you want to after hours, it's a secure drop.
Well, but here's the thing with that. If it's outside, if the box is outside,
say outside.
I know, but if the reason it's like that is because if the box is outside, it's got to have 24-hour video surveillance,
right?
Yeah.
From like 360 degrees, make sure nobody's
okay. And then
just make it into an ATM. How many videos have we seen of them trying to steal an ATM?
Yeah.
They've outlawed mobile voting centers, which were RVs where you can go to vote. I've never even seen anything like that.
That sounds
I've
like
heard
some
of those.
hick shit right there.
That sounds like some fraud.
Yeah, that sounds sketchy.
Because they were doing that in the last election.
Last year, Fulton County, which includes most of Atlanta, had 2 RVs that traversed the county during early voting, effectively bringing polling sites to people at churches, parks, and public libraries. In the November election, more than 11,200 people voted in those 2 vehicles. They're saying that has... Okay, here we go. Georgia has now outlawed this practice unless the governor declares a state of emergency to allow it. Which, in a situation like COVID,
the pandemic or something. Okay.
So if something like we've dealt with in this last happens, there's a provision for it. Early voting is expanded in a lot of small counties, but probably not in more populous ones.
Probably. I like the. We don't know for sure, but we're just going to throw that fucker in there.
Yeah, this is.
See, that's where they start losing me when they start with the conjecture.
Yeah, I'm not looking at that one because there's too much. Okay, now here's the one Amber's been talking about. Offering food or water to voters waiting in line now risks misdemeanor charges. Well, okay, that makes sense to me because if you're waiting in food, that could be seen as like buying votes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just
and that's what I told her too.
Not only buying votes, but if someone were to be doing something bad, they could be poisoning everybody. I mean,
somebody could.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, if I'm running for some local office and I'm like, Here's your Big Mac, buddy. Here's your Big Mac, buddy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, no person's.
But at the same time, the way they wrote that is stupid because I heard